Good evening. Are you happy?
Yes.
Yeah, tonight we're going to have some fun. You're going to need your notebooks because a lot of what I'm going to tell you would have taken too long to put on the slides. Okay, it would just have taken too long. So I've put bullet points as I go along. All of the downloads that I'm going to be giving you guys are not on the slides. I can message them to you later, but they're from what I use with my private clients to get results around manifesting whatever it is that you desire. So what I want you to start with tonight is just take a minute, okay? Take a minute and let yourself connect with your intention for this evening. What do you actually want to manifest in 2019? Okay? And the reason I want you to write it down now is because I want you to see how much clearer your answers are going to become after we go through the processes that we're going to go through. Okay? And clarity is manifestation. Even if you know nothing about spirituality, clarity is the essence of creation. Okay? Everything has a blueprint. Everything has a plan on a biological, on a physiological level. That's how a seed becomes an oak tree. That's how an embryo becomes a baby. Okay? There are these invisible plans that map out the universe, these energetic systems that create these divine right order maps, these sacred geometric shapes. You don't have to sit there over a flower going, be a flower, right? It becomes a flower. You don't have to sit over a little girl saying, become a woman. She becomes a woman. It's already in the blueprint. It's already in the DNA. And it's the same thing with your dreams. These are seeds that we're planting. That if you sit in the presence of your awareness and consciousness and are regularly given divine right action, will manifest into some of the most beautiful things that you've ever seen. Okay? And your dreams matter. Your manifestations matter. Okay? I'm going to get real deep with you guys at the moment. Have you seen what's happening in the world right now? Have you seen how many people are using their power in a way that literally thinks of nobody but themselves? That means that every single dream that involves being of service to humanity, being of service to the planet, being greater light to the world is so much more important than it was. Does that make sense? Because right now, even in this absolutely beautiful, amazing country, we're having a constitutional crisis. Our NHS system is having a really hard time. We have more homeless children now than we had in the 1800s. Okay? There is no part of your ego that you get to believe that you don't need to manifest what you came here to do. Okay? Any little part of you that's going, I'm not that important, someone else is going to do it, my dreams don't matter, I don't have what it takes, that little part is literally the biggest lie you're ever going to hear. And every time one person believes that lie, it becomes another person, another person, another person. I was watching a really interesting documentary on veganism the other day, and it said, I can't make a difference, in big bold letters across the screen, and then underneath it said 7.4 billion people. Okay? You're not the only one that has that thought, but it's within your power to not listen and to create something good anyway, to rise into who you're supposed to become anyway. To literally see the different challenges that you're going to have in your life and become a better person anyway. To start giving 120% instead of 10%, 20%, 70%, 80%. But that requires that you take a few minutes right now and really look at what your life would look like if you actually said, okay, in 2019, part of what I'm going to manifest is giving 120%, because that means that when I screw up, I'm going to give 100%. Right? You're going to give yourself a little bit of leeway. Is someone sitting there?
There's a chair here.
There's a chair there, darling. Come on in. Okay. So I really want you to take a minute. Close your eyes for me. Connect with this really bright light of consciousness that was there before you were born and will be there after you die. Okay? And really allow it to, that little voice to speak. If you really thought that you could do anything, if there was something that you could give to the world, to the people, to yourself, to the family, what would it be? You deserve to know what your life would look like if you gave 120%. You deserve that. You owe yourself that. So take a minute and think, whatever beliefs are going on, I'm too old, I'm too fat, I'm too insecure, I'm a woman, I'm a man, I don't have a good enough job, no one cares whatever is happening there, just put it in a nice little box for the minute. I promise we're going to sort that out with the meditation part of the evening. But right now, what would you do? And then before you can stop yourself, write it down really quickly. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, write it down. Don't think, just write, okay? Learning not to think is going to become one of your greatest skills. Takes people a long time with meditation. Takes you 5 seconds if you count down. Good. If you're not writing, I'm going to tickle you. 5, 4. What do you want to do in 2019? 3, 2. Really? Okay. I believe you. There is tickling in this room, by the way. Just so you know, it's my main method of torture. And my favorite state breaker as a child. And I want you to take a moment to think, what would you do if you actually loved the planet? If you weren't neutral about other people, if you didn't hate them sometimes, what would you do if you actually loved the planet? The way you love your children, the way you love your husband, the way you love your divine life purpose. What would you do? What would you change if you actually loved the planet? How would you look at people on the tube? Would you smile? How would you walk down the road? What energy would you take if you actually decided to give love instead of fear or shutdownness or neutrality? Right? In A Course in Miracles, it says there's no such thing as a neutral thought. Okay? Anyone in this room particularly want their mother to be neutral about them? No? God? Yeah? So neutral and ignoring is actually a deeper level of fear than anger. If I take a little baby plant and I ignore that plant, it literally will die faster than if I shout at that plant.
No, I take back. No, fine.
Yeah? If I take a little baby who's been orphaned and I don't pay any attention to that baby, it's scientifically proven that that baby will be mentally scarred and literally disabled for the rest of its life. Being ignored is one of the scariest ways that we stop our manifestations from happening. I was working with a really lovely lady today, and we were working on getting to the depths of what was really blocking her from getting love in her life. And she had a lot of abuse as a child, and she had huge amounts of rage as a result. But because of the positivity movement, she was terrified of actually dealing with her rage and with her anger. Okay, she was like, if I deal with it, then I'm giving it power. Does that make sense? And I was explaining to her that acceptance is literally one of the first steps to enlightenment. If I think I'm already okay, I'm all right, if someone asks me, how am I? And really, I'm really angry, but my answer is, I'm fine. And they say, and you say, okay, I'm fine, and I want to get to being happy. I'm fine, and I want to get to being successful. Do I give you the same plan or map if you say to me, I want to be really happy and successful, but all I can feel is anger? I don't give you the same map. And then when the map I give you, or the person who's working with you gives you, including yourself, doesn't work, your ego is going to have a field day and be like, oh, it's the spirituality thing. It doesn't work. Does that make sense? Right? So wherever you are, whatever your block is to manifestation, whether it's anger, whether it's jealousy, whether it's weakness and fear that you don't have the strength and low self-esteem, whether it's confusion and lack of knowledge and clarity, whatever it is, start from where you are. Come to the universe as you are. because the universe will meet you there. Okay? The universe comes to where we are. What you are seeking, the love of the universe, is also seeking you. And just because you don't know how to love these parts of yourselves doesn't mean that the universe doesn't know. The creator, the being that created the sun, the stars, every cell in your body, every thought we've ever thought, every emotion we've ever felt is not in his office sitting there going, you know, this anger thing, it's too hard. That's our fear. Does that make sense? But you cannot fake deep work. That is not the same thing as me saying to you, please go out and shout at everybody that you meet. Please get so angry and depressed that you don't go to work the next morning. That's not responsible either. Does that make sense? And that's not healing either. But it does require that you go, okay, I clearly, every single time I'm about to go to the next level, every single time I rise out of my comfort zone, I open my wings, I go, I am going to do this, right? World, watch out. This is what happens. This is where I get stuck. Does that make sense? I am going to dedicate 3 to 4 weeks of my life of working on this particular issue. Okay, because the other thing that we do that blocks manifestations is we have completely unrealistic expectations of ourselves and of others and how long things can take to heal. I have one-hit wonders all the time. I call the people that heal instantly one-hit wonders, right? It just takes one session and they go bing and they're done, right? I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen with kids. I've seen it happen with sick people. I've seen it happen with, really grumpy people and people that I would never expect. I've seen it happen to people that have never had healing before. Right? But the vast majority of the people that I meet are far too controlling to allow that to happen. Right? We allow change to happen at the pace that we can feel safe. Does that make sense? Okay? We literally slow it down because we don't know who we'd be. Who would you be if you were a millionaire? Who would you be if you were healthy? Who would you be if you were strong? And normally those questions are so radically different from who you are right now that it takes time. It takes time for your subconscious mind to get used to this radical state of growth and consciousness. Does that resonate with everyone? And you deserve that time. You deserve that time. Do not do what I did. Do not waste 10 to 15 years trying to prove that you can do it alone. I know you're brilliant. I know you're amazing. But you'll get there faster if you pair up. Does that make sense? Get a buddy to do swaps with. If you have a particular therapist in mind, commit to working with that therapist because you'll get there faster. Does that make sense? And no excuses if it's your buddy. Okay, just because they're your buddy doesn't mean you don't show up on time, doesn't mean you don't make a commitment that is 100% of a commitment. Does that make sense? Yeah? And you have to commit to being honest with each other. Because if you really are going for the biggest block to your manifestations coming, you're going to get pissed off. You're going to get sad. You're going to get angry. Does that make sense? Right? You're really not going to like your therapist for probably a good 2 to 3 weeks of the work that you do. That's called transference. Okay? It's normal. It's really, really normal. You know how if you're reading Louise Hay's book, You Can Heal Your Life? She's got this big paragraph about the end of the second chapter that says, did I piss you off? Good. And it's underscored. Yeah? Because the person you're working with should care about you. They should love you. They should care that you get results. They should care that your life becomes better. They should care that you flourish and blossom and grow. And they should care enough to be honest. Does that make sense? It's a risk. Trust me, as a therapist, I've been doing healing since I was 17 years old. As a therapist, it's a risk telling a client something they don't want to hear because they might not come back. Does that make sense? I literally, every time I do that, I have to choose between getting a paycheck and being honest. Every single time. It's a risk for your friend or for your therapist to be honest with you and tell you the truth. Does that make sense? It's a risk for your partner or husband to be honest with you and tell the truth. Because you can leave. You can just start punishing them. You can stop liking them. The truth is an honor. And it's not your literally, it's not your heart that's broken, it's your pride. All right? And it's hard. I know I don't come to you as a perfect person who's got her whole life figured out. I come to you, you see how I came today. I'm a bit of a mess. Right? But I came anyway because I love you. There's a lot going on in my life and I show up anyway. Does that make sense? Because as much as you need me, I need you. And it's been almost 3 years of us doing this. And I feel better when I'm with you. I feel stronger when we're connected. Does that make sense? And if something comes up before a talk, I know it's my stuff. Right? Particularly when it's a big talk. And manifestation is a big talk. And the reason it's a big talk is because it goes to the heart of everything. You want good health, it's manifestation. You want love, it's manifestation. You want money, it's manifestation. Right? You want respect, it's manifestation. So manifestation is at the root of our power coming from our creative energy and our connection to Creator of all that is. And even if it doesn't look like that on the title of a talk, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about getting down to who you really are, what kind of a man or a woman you really want to be, who you really want to become, what legacy you want to leave on this planet. These are big questions, really big, important questions, and not just for you, because you guys agreed to help people before you incarnated. You agreed to literally lift other people once you had been lifted. Once that divine energy of Creator finds you and you feel the love of God for the first time, when your life starts to get stronger, that gift was given to you so that you could share it with the world. Does that resonate? Yeah? It wasn't given to you so you could put it in a pretty little box and keep it in your attic. It was given to you so that it would compound, so that it would accelerate, so that the world would become a better place. Because there are children praying, adults praying, who don't have the same level of spiritual skill, who don't understand how to manifest on the level that you understand to manifest. And Creator does not make mistakes. That means that if you're feeling that dream in your heart, if it's stopping you from sleeping at night, if you're feeling like you can't do anything, that's you hearing the call of the Creator. The call is going out and you're hearing what you're being called to do. The same way a cell gets called to the liver or to the heart or to the lungs so that we can better serve the functioning of the whole. Does that resonate with everyone? Yeah? So manifestation is one of the best and one of the most fun things you can do. Is it fun not knowing what you want to do with your life? Does it suck? Yeah. Hello, honey. Does that mean that if you don't make a decision about what you want to do with your life at some point, your life is going to be scary? Yeah. One of my mentors, Brendan Burchard, he actually says, there is no piano of purpose that is going to fall upon your head as you're walking down the street. Does that resonate with everyone? Yeah? You have to choose your purpose. And there's a reason. God likes your free will. So if you're waiting for the piano of purpose, I've got news. I haven't met anyone that's their job. What do? I'm the piano of purpose man. I come by with this giant piano to drop on people's heads to let them know what their mission is on the planet. Okay, sorry, he's not coming. Okay, Santa's coming. I do believe in Santa, but the piano purpose man, he isn't coming. You have to choose. You have to take a risk. And that doesn't mean it's going to exclude everything else. That doesn't mean that what you do will be the only thing that you do. But you have to begin. And when you begin, you have to give everything that you have. Right? Because that lets you build the emotional, mental, and spiritual muscles that you need to be able to get to the next level. One of the other biggest blocks and funniest blocks to manifestation, who's done this? Be honest with me, because I've done this. Who says, well, when the right job comes along, when the right man comes along, when the right family comes along, I'll do my best. Yeah. How did it work out for you? It didn't. And there's a reason why. It's because every opportunity is a miracle. Every situation in your life has been designed as the perfect curriculum for you. In A Course in Miracles, it says really clearly that you get to choose when you take different parts of the curriculum, but you don't get to choose what the curriculum is. Does that make sense? So you can choose whether you're mastering love or patience or kindness or truth or compassion, but you can't choose the curriculum itself. I don't want to do that. I'm just going to do this instead. Does that resonate? Yeah? You can learn how important something is by doing the opposite. You can learn how important love is by living without it. That's the law of, magnetism. So you can move towards something or you can move away from something, just like a magnet, to learn, right? But that's about the only choice that you have. You can either go towards it. So people that go towards tend to like confrontation, honesty. They tend to get straight to the point. They tend to be sometimes brutally honest and a bit arrogant. And people who move away from tend to be the ones that don't know what they're doing, that they're kind of shy, they want you to take the lead. Does that make sense? But you cannot choose what you learn. You can only choose whether you learn it by moving away or by moving towards. And I'll tell you something from lifetimes and lifetimes worth of experience, moving towards is faster, right? It's messier because your stuff comes up quicker, but it's faster. And it's faster because you've figured out responsibility. Okay, it's faster because you've already mastered one universal truth, which is I'm responsible for the creation of my life. And if I stand in that responsibility, even if I fail, I've mastered one virtue. Does that make sense? Whereas people who move away, that's me, by the way, I normally move away. Normally, you don't even think you have any responsibility over what happens. Does that make sense? It's an energy of complete lack of, I don't understand what's happening to me. Why is this happening to me? Does that resonate? Yeah? And you can go round and round and round. You can move away with anger. You can move away with sadness. You can move away with hurt. You can move away with drama. But all of them are the same pattern. We think we're really different. And when it comes to how our gifts are expressed, we are. But when it comes to how our shadow is expressed, we're almost identical. If you don't believe me, ask Anthony Robbins. Right? Our shadow is very similar. We just don't like it to be similar. Because that starts to break down the separation. When you actually get that everybody in this room has been through a lot. They've been through hard days the way you've been through hard days. They've suffered the way that you've suffered. They've seen darkness on the level that you've seen darkness. Especially when you do a retreat in London, you meet people who have wars. I met someone who had their colon removed yesterday. And they still get up in the morning and go to work. Does that make sense? There are people who you walk by in the street showing a level of courage that you don't even imagine when you're stuck in the story of I'm the only person that faces fear. I'm the only person that faces pain. And it doesn't matter whether it's emotional, whether it's spiritual, whether it's physical. Pain is pain. Does that resonate? Yeah? This game of comparing our pain, addiction is worse than this, cancer is worse than that. It has to stop. Pain is pain. Okay? If you're in pain, then you're in a vibration that's going to block the manifesting process. And you're also in the pain of growth. Okay? It hurts to grow sometimes. Not the same way that it hurts to shrink. But any of you ever been to the gym and felt it the next day? Yeah? Because your body's detoxing. It's getting rid of the toxins and the chemicals. And that's why spiritual growth hurts sometimes, because looking at the truth without any inoculation is hard. What was I watching that? Okay, so I'm vegan, but I don't normally watch the scary animal vegan stuff. Okay? It was enough for me to be told by my angels, stop eating animals. I just did it. Does that resonate? Yeah? So there was this film about veganism that came out that my husband said to me, I'd really love to watch this with you. And it sounded really good and it was getting these amazing 5-star reviews. And the moment that the whole film is about the suffering of animals and it makes you watch. I didn't take 15 minutes. I want to be under the couch. I want to cover my eyes. I want to throw up. That's how much I didn't want to see the truth of what was happening to animals. Does that make sense? The same thing happens to me when I see that there's stuff happening to children, when there's stuff happening to my family members, when there's stuff happening to people that I love. right? And that desire to become unconscious, to look away, that blocks the manifestation. Why? Because the witness is the healing. What you witness, you can allow Creator to release. What you don't witness cannot be released. You don't look to get kicks. You don't look to become self-righteous. You don't look to hate everybody that's ever had a chicken. You look so that you can transcend the part of your ego that believes it has the right to dominate any other living thing. Does that make sense? Right? So it's really hard for me to look. I still struggle. I'm not telling you to look from a place of spiritual superiority. I'm telling you to look because the more you look, the faster you'll heal. And the more strength you'll build because you won't look away. You won't look away from the inconvenient truth your client is telling you. You won't look away from the areas in your life where you're not showing up. You won't look away from the places you failed your husband, failed yourself. You won't look away from how you can become who you really are. And when you don't look away from that, that's when that energy of the universe can come in and literally shift it almost all at once. That's when the miracles happen. And that's why my one-hit wonders sometimes have never had a healing before. Because they don't have time to have enough knowledge to block the truth. Right? And when the truth comes, the understanding washes over and you see the peace in every cell of their body and the joy. Right? They don't have time to analyze. They just go straight into, and that's why I said to you, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, write it down. Does that make sense? Yeah? Because you're going to need courage to look at what's actually going on and not just look at it. Hand it over. Because some of the things that you see, you may be enlightened enough to see, but you will have no idea how to begin. Does that make sense? And when there's a problem bigger than us, we need something bigger than the problem. And that something that's bigger than the problem is the light of God, is the light of Creator. And there are a lot of problems that are bigger than us. And we don't see how the answers are going to come together. We don't see how this big kaleidoscope of life is growing and healing and merging. But God knows. Does that resonate? Yeah? So when you don't know, you say to yourself, I can't, but God can. Right? I can't. I cannot get out of bed in the morning, but God can. I cannot heal this disease, but God can. I do not know how to love my husband. All I want to do is leave. God knows how. I can't, but God can. And that moment that the ego fears is going to make you the weakest you've ever been is actually the moment where you have your first touch of what your real power feels like. Because you're part of that essence. We avoid that fear that we can't do stuff because we're like, oh my God, if I really cannot heal this disease, if I really cannot get out of poverty on my own, then everything is lost. That's what the ego says. Does that make sense? If I can't do it on my own, then I'm, pardon my language, effed. Right? But the truth is that if you can't do it on your own and you lean on a power bigger than you, that's when stuff is going to move. That's when mountains are going to crumble. That's when you're going to become a force to be reckoned with. That's when your shadow is going to be terrified that your feet hit the ground in the morning. Because that power is bigger than you could possibly imagine. And it knows what's going on levels that we don't understand. Does that make sense? Right? So for me, I'll give you an example. When I woke up spiritually, I didn't know how I was going to heal. I had no idea. Because I was enlightened enough and I had powerful clairvoyance. So I knew what was going on. I could see that my angels were not just clearing a person's energy, that they were actually clearing ancestral stuff, other lifetimes, future lifetimes, stuff from other planets, toxins that people had eaten inside their bodies, toxins those people had been born with. Does that make sense? And I was 17. I was terrified. I was like, I cannot do this. It's too much. How do I even tell a client that that's what they're contending with? Does that make sense? And then when you actually get, I don't have to do it. There's something greater in me than I am. My greatness will awaken. Something deeper, something bigger than me is going to take over. And I'm going to find out what I'm really made of. Does that resonate? That's when shifts started to happen. That's how miracles happened to me before I discovered Theta Healing, before I discovered Course in Miracles, because I got something really simple. I don't know what the hell I'm doing, but God does. Does that make sense? And people used to say that to me. They used to be like, you're 17. Why do you think you have the right to do this? And I was like, because I'm not doing it. Right? Crystal clear. What you're giving is your time and your love and your support and your belief that the client can recover. And the belief that God can heal the client. The healing is from something far greater than us. And it's the same thing with the manifestation. You do not manifest, Creator manifests. In A Course in Miracles, it says the difference between you and Creator is that God made you, but you did not make God. Okay? It's a tough pill for the ego to swallow, but there are some things that are bigger than us. That doesn't mean that we're not equal to Creator. It doesn't mean that God's going to try and take your identity or personality, because He made that. He created that too. Your personality is perfect for what you have to accomplish on this planet. And where it's not, it's a bit like a diamond in the rough. God's going to gently polish it off. Right? I'm married to an amazing, huge, 6'4" American dude. And he's the opposite of me. Anytime there's a challenge in his life, he aims, he sets, he goes. Right? Doesn't matter what it is, he's not going to ignore it. He aims, he sets, he goes. I'm the person who hides. Right? So in His infinite wisdom, God put us together so that my husband would learn to slow down and think, and I would learn to speed up and do. Does that make sense? Do you think that he might have pissed me off a little? Yeah. Just because someone's what you need doesn't mean you're going to like them. Right? Because they make you feel so insecure. They're everything that you don't know how to be. Does that make sense? Yeah. But they're also a gift. Because when I actually started saying, okay, universe, I surrender. I surrender. I'm going to take daily action on my divine life purpose. And then about 2 years later, it became daily massive action. And I don't know how it's going to work out, but it's going to work out. Does that make sense? Right? Most people give up on their dreams too soon. They've been doing it for a week. They've been doing it for a month, and it hasn't happened yet. They give up. Right? A tree takes at least 5 years to become a tree. Until then, it's a sapling. Okay? I still see at least 10 to 15 clients every week. I see what I see through Burjan, which is the biggest theta healing company in Europe, and they're the company that I work for. And then I see the people that I agree to work with for pro bono work, because they deserve help. Right? And lots of people say to me, you don't need to do that. You could make more money doing something else. Does that make sense? But I do it because I'm hungry. I do it because I need the practice. I do it because I don't ever want to lose that passion for people. Does that make sense? Because it's easy to forget how much not just you're needed, but how much literally when people agree to work with you as a soul, it wasn't on the bottom of the contract, hey, this person isn't going to like you. They don't actually like humans very much at all, right? And if you decide to work with them, whoop, that's bad. If you decide to work with them, then you're on your own. Does that make sense? It said, I agree to help you. I agree to nurture you. I agree to be with you. I agree to see this manifestation through into completion. Does that make sense? That's why I choose the people I take on pro bono so carefully. Because once I give my word, I give my word. And unless you do something bad, like really bad, like not show up to 2 or 3 sessions or, really mess me around, I'm there till the end. Does that make sense? And that's a big commitment for me. It's a big commitment for me because it means if I fail, I have to watch some clients die. If I fail, I have to see people not be able to feed their kids. Does that make sense? So it's a big commitment, but it's worth it because most of the time they don't fail. Most of the time you see somebody who's going from making less than 100 quid a week and living on benefits to making 3,000 to 10,000 a month. Just because for the first time in their lives, they have someone saying, you can do it. This is how you do it. This is what we're going to do. This is what's going to happen. Does that make sense? Who in this room would like to have been believed in as a child? Yeah. Who got belief as long as you were doing what your parents wanted you to do? Right? That skill that you have of believing in people no matter what, of staying with them when they're going to give up on themselves, of teaching them to stay there when they want to run away. They need that as much as they need to breathe oxygen. And when you do it with other people, you learn to do it with yourself. Does that make sense? Right? And that's why when it comes to theta healing and digging, so many people struggle so much. Because normally when they get to the bottom emotion or they get to the bottom belief, you can see the panic on their face. This is too big, I can't do it. Does that make sense? You can see them wanting to move out of that pain by themselves instead of actually calling in the energy of a higher power. So that moment where you see that and you call in that energy of creator and you bring it in, that is a powerful, miraculous moment that changes their future for the rest of their life, whether they realize it or not. Because for the first time, they've been shown what it feels like to actually take divine right action when the going gets tough, when they want to give up, when they don't know what to do. Who in this life has faced situations that are so tough they had no idea what to do? Yeah. So do you think it's a normal part of life that when you're actually growing and you're out of your comfort zone and you're doing things you've never done before, that you might not know? Yeah. So when you get to that point where you don't know what to do, if you don't call in the energy of creator, if you don't call in the energy of something higher than yourself, you'll go back to your comfort zone. Does that make sense? And then the manifestation will just disappear. There's a really good meme going down Facebook at the moment. There's this little girl crying her eyes out and she's like a cartoon. And she's like, "Wah!" And it says, "Me after 4 days on a diet when I haven't lost any weight yet." Right? Normally when we start something new, whether it's a new high school, whether it's a college, whether it's studying, whether it's a business, the first 3 months, they're fun, but they're a challenge. Do you know what I mean? I remember when I first started competing in swimming teams in high school, and straight after school, I'd have to go and do swimming heats for like 2 or 3 hours. When I got home at night, my head hit the pillow and I was gone. Right? And I had so many people tell me when I started doing healing, "Oh, you look a little tired. Maybe you shouldn't be doing it." Does that make sense? You look tired when you're out of your comfort zone because you're not in your comfort zone. You're building muscles you don't have yet. When you have those muscles, things are going to get easy. You know what happens when you first try and run your first 5 miles in the morning and you feel like you're dying? Yeah? That feeling happens whenever you take on something new that requires a deeper level of commitment, a deeper level of virtue, a deeper level of integrity than you've ever had before. And that feeling is not you're doing it wrong. That feeling is not you chose the wrong life purpose. It's not that you're miserable. That feeling is literally your body and your spirit building new virtues, building new muscles, putting new things into place. That's why people that go into rehab after they get sick, who decide to do weights anyway, who decide to eat healthy anyway, who decide to believe they can get better anyway, recover. Because it looks dire at the beginning. Does that make sense? When you have 500 quid or maybe 80 quid in your bank account and you're aiming for 1 million, it looks impossible. It's not impossible, it's just improbable. You guys read Alice in Wonderland? When the Queen says, "Why someday I do 6 impossible things before breakfast." Yeah? That sense of whimsy is going to help you because you're going to need it, because some days are going to be tough. And I refuse to lie to you guys, okay? I refuse. I refuse to stand up here and wear white clothes and tell you that because you want it more than your heart has ever wanted it, it's going to be easy. And you don't want easy. You're masters. You came here to become ascended masters. You didn't come here to maybe iffish kind of want to get something done. That level that you're reaching for, that level of mastery, that's exciting. That will make you get up in the morning. There's a really good motivational speaker called E.T., and I love listening to him. And he's the one that says, your dream should wake you up in the morning. Your dream should be so big that it wakes you up in the morning. My dream is to literally help at least 3 million people get their health back before the end of 2020. That is my dream. It gets me out of bed in the morning because I know that people are waiting for me whether I get out of bed or not. Does that make sense? But that's a bigger dream than I had. You know what my dream was? I want to have a successful business. It was a good dream, but it didn't get me out of bed in the morning. Does that make sense? I'm an ascended master. It was boring. Does that make sense? Even if I give it 20% of my energy, I'm probably going to have a successful business in 5 or 6 years. That gives me too much time to faff about. Right? When I'm actually thinking, I want to build hospitals, I want to build schools, I want to raise enough money that if the silly government never gets its act together, then we do. Does that make sense? Those dreams excite me. Those dreams get me out of bed in the morning. But I want to build a business. I'm a healer. I care about people. I don't care about businesses. Does that make sense? This is why you have to know who you are. What drives you? Some people are driven by money, and that's a good thing. But if you're not driven by money, you're not driven by money. Does that make sense? And then you have to figure out what you are driven by and make your goals match and be in alignment to what you're driven by. I am driven by people. I light up when people say thank you. I light up when they hug me. I light up when they get what they want. It gives me more joy than I can understand. I'm one of those people that literally likes doing things for other people and struggles to do things for myself. Right? I'm working very hard to learn to do things by myself because I think it's an important thing, but my drive comes from that. Does that make sense? At some point, it will move into balance. But the reason it's not in balance right now is because out there is not balanced. Does that make sense? There are people out there whose dreams it is to bomb countries. So if there aren't some people whose dreams it is to save lives, does that make sense? Then there is no balance, right? The moment that the universe creates the fear mind, it creates the holy instant. It creates the answer to the problem. Does that make sense? And that's what you are. You're the answer to a question humanity is answering, which is how the hell do we get balance in this place? How the hell do we create love and peace? This question is going on in our collective human consciousness. And these manifestations that are being born inside you are an answer, not just to the questions you're asking yourselves, but to the questions humanity are asking all over the world. Does that make sense? So your manifestations really, really matter. Okay, so I'm going to move forward. This isn't going to make, I'll introduce myself backwards. So, this is me. Can you see how passionate I am about manifestation? It just takes over. So I'm a vegan, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a spiritual teacher, I'm a master theta healing instructor, an activist and an energy master. I have 2 companies. One of them made its first $500,000 this year, and the other is just starting. I'm still at about 40 grand that I've made for the first year. And this is from someone who was making less than 500 a month before they started working with Anna Kitney. Okay, that's proof of how much if you work with someone who believes in you. Anna was the first person who believed in me. She was the first person who really believed in me. And I started to go forward. Does that make sense? Yeah? She's the reason that when my stepkids are sick, I can afford to pay for their alternative health stuff. She's the reason that if I get into financial trouble, I can get myself out of it. So having the right person is really important. Does that make sense? Okay? I teach based on the principles of theta healing and Course in Miracles. Most of you know me. I recognize every single one of your faces except 2. Okay? That's not because I think that these are the best modalities in the world. They're just the modalities I used in this lifetime to achieve mastery. So whatever you hear, take it and apply it to whatever it is that's your light. Does that make sense? Yeah? If it doesn't resonate with you, just leave it. I'm not here to force anything on anyone. So we'll keep moving forward. So clarity is clarity, clarity, clarity. So we talked a little bit about clarity already. And now we're going to get a bit clear on what clarity means. Okay? So your job is not to manifest. Your job is to remove the obstacles you have to receiving the manifestation. The Course in Miracles says that everything you want, everything you desire already exists. Yes, my love? No, feel free. Just as long as there's not a flash. So your job is not to manifest. Your job is to remove the obstacles to your manifestation, okay? Most of us are really blind to where we block our own manifestations. It's called the nature of our shadow work, okay? There are things about ourselves we can't see. This is why our partner winds us up so much, right? Because we think they're making things up, right? They just live with who we are instead of who we want to be. They live with our actual self instead of who we think we are. And sometimes that's harder. And how we treat ourselves teaches them how to treat us. And that's so often why people that don't respect themselves end up in relationships with people who abuse them over and over again. Because if you literally treat yourself without respect, without love, without kindness, then your partner will eventually, and then according to hypnosis, it takes about 300 suggestions, so it takes you doing it about 300 times. Your partner will then start copying what you do. Humans are like monkeys. Okay, it's monkey see, monkey do. Before I met my husband, every single partner that I had, I manifested them leaving. Now, they wouldn't dump me, but they would cheat on me or do something else spectacularly bad, right? Sometimes a few things at the same time. But when I started recording my conversations with them when I was angry on my phone, I realized that I was telling them to leave. Every time I got angry, I would say, leave me alone. Every time I got angry, I'd be like, why do you keep coming back? I don't want you in my life. You make my life worse. Does that make sense? Took about 3 or 4 years, but literally on the dot, with me saying it about 100 times per year, in the third year, the relationship would end. When I stopped doing it, I got married. Okay? So what we do to block our manifestations, we're often not conscious of. This is why I also don't like coaching and therapy that's only distance. Who's watched Super Nanny in the room? Yeah? You guys know about the nanny cam. She puts the nanny cam in the house and she films mum and dad. Yeah? So I have my own Sky Cam, which films me and lets me know what I'm doing. Does that make sense? Yeah? And there's a reason for this. It's because we don't just lie to other people, we lie to ourselves. So people are in denial and they don't understand what they're doing. And one of the biggest reasons I get really good results with business coaching is because I actually go to the office. When they say, I want you for business coaching, I'm like, okay, where's your office? That's the point where they freak out. Right? Because that's the point where they can't hide what they're doing anymore. Does that make sense? Otherwise, all I get on the phone is, my employees aren't that good. I work really, really hard. I work 40-hour weeks and nothing is happening. I've got all these systems in place. And then when I actually show up to the office, that is not the case. Does that make sense? Because we're embarrassed of where we're screwing up. You know, I once had a person say to me, will you do a session on my boyfriend? And I was like, if you bring them in, I want to see how you two are together. Right? And literally within the session, the poor boyfriend told me that his girlfriend, every time he didn't want to have sex with her, told him that he wasn't a man. And that she was just going to go out and have sex with somebody else who was black like she was because they could satisfy her. And she didn't know on the phone to me why he didn't want to have sex. Does that make sense? So the truth and what we tell ourselves are often two very different things. Who forgets what's actually happened in an argument sometimes? Forget what you say, you forget what you did. And then when your partner's like, you said this and it really hurt my feelings, you're like, I never said that. Right? It's the same thing with coaching. This is why the energy scan helps so much in theta healing. I had a lady come to my office today who I love very much, and I haven't ever worked with one-to-one because she has been doing workshops with some other people that I love dearly. And she came to me for the first time today. And the first thing she said when she sat in my chair was, I have a really loving family, and I don't know why I'm unhappy. 15 minutes later, she did not have a loving family. Does that make sense? She was in an abusive relationship. And she'd been in one for a very long time, since her childhood. But what people tell you and what's actually going on are often not the same thing. Does that make sense? Because if someone tells you they're in a difficult relationship, if someone tells you that they're dealing with an illness, if someone tells you that they're dealing with money issues, and you actually go in and you see what's going on, then think they're going to change, and the level of responsibility they're going to have to take is going to increase. Does that make sense? You're going to have to figure out who you are. You're going to have to figure out how to be on your own. You're going to have to figure out how to make your own money. Does that make sense? Does that resonate to everyone? Right? So that's the biggest thing. Your job is not to manifest. Your job is to remove the obstacles to your manifestation and to get super radically honest with yourself. What is the real issue? I go up to Creator and I ask, Creator, show me the truth of this situation. Show me what's actually happening here. And sometimes it takes an instant, sometimes it takes 3 days, sometimes it takes 3 months, sometimes it takes 3 years. But I've never not been able to get to the root of an issue. Does that make sense? Because it's based on how fast you're willing to change, right? And how quickly you can deal with the secondary gains you're getting from that manifestation. So this is the other one that blocks manifestations left, right, and center. Having a clear plan is as important as motivation, willpower, and positive energy, okay? Every single research study that they've done so far shows this. You have to have a clear plan, because otherwise, how do you hold yourself accountable? If you don't know what you're supposed to be doing this week, how do you know if you're doing it or not? If you haven't made a commitment to yourself, how do you get to the point where you can be honest with yourself about whether you're meeting or not meeting your goals and adjust, right? You're like a little GPS system. You're going to be driving down towards London, and sometimes there might be a block in the road, and sometimes there might be a little bit of traffic, and your GPS is just going to go recalculating, because why? You know you're trying to get to London. Does that make sense? So if you actually set goals and you say, okay, my goal is to make 5,000 a month, and you try and you make 2,000 a month, you can recalculate, you can adjust, because you know what your goal is. Does that make sense? But if you never had a goal, then 2,000 a month is great. There's no accountability. There's no growth. And humans without growth, we don't do well. We need vision. We need growth. Growth is what makes us happy. It's progress, not perfection. Right? Who amongst you does course after course after course after course? Yeah? Because you like the growth. You need the growth. And the moment you stop doing courses, you've got no expectation of yourself to grow. It's like, well, I'm not in school anymore, so I don't have to grow. Right? Growth is a fundamental human need. If you're not growing, as Anthony Robbins says, you're dying. Okay, we need it. It gives us enthusiasm. It gives us life. It gives us passion. It wakes us up. And we think that we can stay the same. And we try and hold on to what we have to keep things the same, right? Having, knowing when and where you're going to do something nearly doubles the likelihood of you achieving a challenge or goal. Okay? Write that one down. Knowing when and how you're going to do something nearly doubles the chance of you achieving your challenge or goal. Now, you don't have to know how at the beginning, but you do have to proactively seek to learn. Does that make sense? You have to be willing to change. If I don't know how to do my accounting, I have to proactively either seek out an accountant or I have to proactively seek to learn accounting. If I don't know how to be healthy, I have to proactively seek out people who are healthy and who know how to be healthy. And that process requires a search. It requires that hunter in you to wake up because you're gathering information, you're gathering solutions, you're gathering knowledge. Does that make sense? So you may not know at the beginning, but the answers start to come. And it means that when things don't go your way, you're much more likely to be prepared for them not going your way. Yeah? It means that things, instead of taking you down for a week or for a month, take you down for a few days or for 7 days. Does that make sense? Right? It makes a huge difference to the speed with which you can accomplish your goals and the speed with which you can course correct. Okay? So if you don't know what you're going to do and when you're going to do it, what I'm going to suggest is that you literally take a little bit of your notepad right now and write down all the months of 2019. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November. And then I want you to choose 3 of the things that you chose to manifest for next year. And for each project, I want you to allocate 2 to 3 months of your time. If it's starting your business and getting it up to making 50,000 or 100,000 a year, is it January to March? Is it March to September? When are you going to give your time to this? I'm going to give a realistic lump of time where you can work on one thing and give it your full attention so that when you get to the end of those months, that project is done. If it's creating an online course, if it's writing a book, choose 3 months. If you have a full-time job, it might be in the summer holidays. It might be in Christmas, but choose a chunk. And realize that for each project that you want to accomplish next year, you're going to need at least 2 months to create it, and then at least a month to market it, unless your product is already made. It's 2 months to create it normally, and then a month to market it, launch it, figure out what your plan is. So which ones of you, after this exercise, realize you've got too much planned for next year? Yeah? Be brave. Yeah. So what are you going to have to put to 2020? Okay, so take a minute and think. What are you going to do in 2020 instead of in 2019? This is really important because it's the number one reason people fail. They put too much on their to-do list, they get overwhelmed, and nothing gets done properly. And when nothing gets done properly, it damages your reputation, it damages people's trust in you, and it means that you don't actually believe in your product. Okay? So it's really important. And this is how you end up creating your 5-year plan. Because we underestimate what we can get done in a month or 2 months, and we overestimate what we can get done in a year. You can get a lot done in 2 months. You can make a complete project from the ground up. You can literally write a book in 3 months if that's what you're doing. Okay? But you can't do it and be doing 5 or 6 other things at the same time. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's the numbers and figures are in. The science says really clearly, multitasking sucks. Okay, when it comes to your results, multitasking is a boo-boo. It's bad juju. You don't want to do it. Right? Once you have clear what you want to do for next year, this is what gives you your priorities and your values. Because if someone calls you up in the months that you've dedicated to work on your book and says, I want to run a retreat with you in those months, they're like, I'm really sorry, those are the months I'm writing my book. Does that make sense? If someone calls you in the months that you've been planning to do or set up your retreat, right, and they say, oh, you've got this publisher contract, etc., then you say, okay, I would love to, I'm really busy right now, can you send me over the contract and we can start next year? Does that make sense? Because if you let other people determine what you do when you get up in the morning and what your projects and goals are, then if they screw up or if they fail, you're stuffed. You have to have goals that are goals for you because you want to wake up in the morning and know you're fulfilling your divine mission here on this planet. not so that you'll get more fame and attention, not so that you'll be liked by lots of people, not so that so that you're literally, when you die in that bed, you're at peace. That you know that this lifetime, that divine life mission got done. That you know that even when you're gone, other people will still be helping the planet. Does that resonate? That's one of the reasons why I love Theta Healing and Course in Miracles so much, because most healers work alone. We stand divided. We don't stand united. We all talk about oneness. When it comes to working with each other, we hate it. Does that make sense? And to me, that's not in alignment. Working with other people isn't always easy, but it's necessary. And it's how you learn to love and receive love. Does that resonate with everyone? Yeah? I learned it the hard way. I have 2 companies, and my biggest issue the first year of running my company was loneliness. We need people to talk to, bounce ideas off of, co-create with, to believe in us. And when that's gone, your husband's going to get it or your kids are going to get it. Does that make sense? They don't want to be your business partners. They want to be your family. They want to be your family. So you need to literally decide, who am I going to need to accomplish this? How much money is this going to cost? So if your project is to make an online course, who's going to film it? Right? How much is that going to cost? How many hours is it going to take you to make your content? Does that make sense? You need to sit down and really think, what is actually the price of the dream? Because if you don't know how much it's going to cost, then you don't know how much you need to manifest to cover that cost. Does that make sense? Right? And a lot of people tell me, I want to be a millionaire, I want to have 6 houses on the side of the beach. And I'm like, you realize 1 house on the beach in Malibu is $1 million. Does that make sense? Right? So most people have complete out of alignment with what their dreams actually cost to what they're actually manifesting financially. Most of us actually manifest from the level that we were financially as a child, because that was the first time we were exposed to what things cost. We still think a house costs 200,000 or 180,000, and what we have to put down as a deposit is 10 grand, because that's in our subconscious mind. And then you go and actually check, and it's more like 100,000 if you live in London. Does that make sense? So we aim too low. It's exactly why all the coaches say your dreams aren't big enough. Yeah? It's because most of us are completely out of alignment with how much what we want costs, with how much we're going to have to create to get where we want to go. And then when we actually get there and we've put in all that work and energy, it's exhausting to start again. Right? Not manifesting, failing to manifest is a part of growing, but it's also heartbreaking. It's also really heartbreaking to go for a dream and not get your dream and to have to start again, right? So if you can cut that time down by just literally sticking, how much does it cost, right? How much do I have to make? What do I have to do so that when I start, I'm already in the blue, I'm not in the red? Does that make sense? The universe will find ways of bringing it to you, but first you have to know, right? If you want to pay off your debts, guys, you have to calculate your interest. What is your interest on the debts you want to pay off, and put that in the manifestation? Does that make sense? Get really clear. It might scare you to get clear because you might have to become bigger than you thought possible, but it will also mean your manifestations are like 99% more likely to happen instead of the 80% that you get with Theta. Clarity is the ultimate secret to manifestation. Okay, you need clarity. If you're sitting there going, I want to manifest this, but I'm really confused, get your notebook, go and sit in a coffee shop or a green juice shop, figure it out. Does that make sense? And then follow the divine guidance. Because the universe will tell you to go and meet people. It will tell you to talk to people. It will tell you to connect to certain people. And those people will then bring you more opportunities. I'll give you an example. I did a motivational talk a couple of weeks ago on Facebook in the early hours, I think it was about 11 o'clock at night, and I was really tired, and I was like, do I really want to go and do this right now? You know, I really don't look very perfect. I'm exhausted after a long day of work and clients. One of my stepkids landed in hospital last weekend, so I was still really stressed about that. And I just kept getting those nudges to take divine guidance, to tell people how you're getting yourself through the hardest moments in your life. Does that make sense? Tell people what you say to yourself when the rubber meets the road and you have every reason God ever gave you to give up on yourself. Tell them what you tell yourself, because then they'll know how to get themselves through those moments. Does that make sense? Which is hard for your ego because it wants to pretend you never have a hard moment. Right? So I got onto Facebook and I started doing this live, and then it became a Facebook Live rant. And from that rant, I got 6 invitations to do different shows. Right? 3 months later, I said, I want to manifest being more visible. I want to manifest being more public. I want to start writing again. I want to manifest helping more people and connecting to the people that I chose to help. And literally, if I hadn't followed that divine guidance, it wouldn't have happened. Right? Sometimes it means going out with friends. My friend Jess Lewis, she runs these amazing parties called, what's it called?
Rise and Shine.
Rise and Shine, yeah. And they're all vegan. There's no alcohol. They have tons of raw food with no sugar and stuff. They dance until like 1 o'clock in the morning. It's really laid back. There are kids running around everywhere. There's people giving healing sessions in the back corner. You can literally walk up to the bar and order green juice and cacao cocktails, right? And I've been avoiding going for a year. And when I went, suddenly my opportunities exploded. Does that make sense? So once you've done the planning, once you've put in the work, once you're clear about what you want, then you have to start letting the universe have some fun. Then you have to start letting yourself play. Does that make sense? Yeah? But if you haven't created that framework, if you don't know who you are and what you want and where you're going, then when those opportunities come to you, you won't recognize them as opportunities. The miracle will be right there staring you in the face and you won't say yes. Does that resonate? Right? So that's how we can have everything right there and we just don't take it. We just don't reach out and do it. Right? So that's a really important part, is after you've done the planning and the organization, then comes the fun. Right? And not just the fun of following your divine guidance, but the fun of doing what you said you would do. You know, who's got shopping stuff that comes with 30-day guarantee on it? This thing breaks, then you can give it back for the next 30 days. Yeah? If it doesn't do what it says that it's going to do on the label, then you get to give it back. Anyone ever made one of those for yourselves? If I don't do what I say I'm going to do, if I let myself down, then I have to go back to square one. We want other people to be held to a higher level of accountability than we want to hold ourselves to. We want to hold them to the fire and not hold ourselves to the fire. Does that make sense? And that's where you really owe it to yourself to look in the mirror and say, I owe this to myself. I owe it to myself to get up at 7 a.m. in the morning. I owe it to myself to give 120% to my dreams. I owe it to myself to see what my life would look like if I really committed to being healthy, if I really committed to being the most loving partner possible, if I really showed up to be who I really am. I owe it to myself. Does that make sense? Because we're always thinking of what other people owe us, but very seldom do we think of what we owe ourselves that we're not giving ourselves. So take a minute to write down, what do you owe yourself that you're not giving? The word is forgiveness, right? So anywhere where you're withholding love, where you're withholding effort, where you're withholding connection is a place where you haven't forgiven yourself. Is a place where you don't trust yourself. Where do you hold back from yourself? What do you owe yourself that you're not giving? Okay. Take a minute to then look at what your strengths and weaknesses are. Is there an extra chair somewhere there, guys, that I can steal? Yeah, that one's fine. Thank you very much, honey. Okay. What is your weakness? Is your weakness that you give up on yourself? Is your weakness that you pick on other people and you create drama because they're not supporting you? Is your weakness that you really don't think you're that important? It doesn't matter if I do what I said because it's not going to make a difference anyway. So really take a look and see where are my weaknesses? Because there's not going to be one way you sabotage yourself. There's going to be many. And the clearer that you get, the quicker you're going to get around what you do. The quicker you're going to rise. Okay. So the next thing that I've spoken to you guys about before, but it's really important for manifestation, is getting clear on what your values are. Okay? What are your values? I told you guys last time that mine were honesty, courage, and discipline. What are your values? Without values, you won't know how to make a decision, or whether the decisions that you make are actually in alignment with who you are. And you won't know what you stand for. So when I make a decision that I'm not sure about, I literally ask myself, was I honest? Was I courageous? Was I honest? Was I courageous? Was I kind? Do I have the discipline required to get where I need to be or to do what I need to do? And based on the answers, I know whether I've succeeded or whether I've failed to be the kind of woman I want to be in the world. Okay? And that's really important because that's what builds trust with yourself. And you need to know how to trust yourself. Every time you make a decision and that is in alignment with your core values, your sense of self-trust increases. And when your sense of self-trust increases, the level of responsibility you're comfortable with increases. And the higher the level of responsibility, the better the results, the better the pay, the higher the level of excellence, okay? So the studies show that literally people with clear values and a sense of who they are report higher levels of excellence, self-esteem, and performance than their peers. So it's the same thing about the piano of purpose. There isn't a piano of who you are. You get to choose what kind of a man or a woman you get to be. Right? You cannot have more than 4 values. I wouldn't recommend having more than 3 because you will get confused. Okay? And it'll make the decisions you make murky. You don't need more than 3 or 4. It's hard enough holding yourself accountable to those. Okay? So stick up your hand if you know what your values are already. Yeah? So those of you that don't, get crystal clear. What are my values? If someone asked me tomorrow, if my kids asked me, if my husband asked me, if someone asked me, what do I stand for? Right? If people ask your kids, what did your mom stand for? What did your dad stand for? What would they say? And what would you want them to say? Does that make sense? This is why the best coaches also have feedback forms and they send them to all your friends and family. Right? Because they want to see all of who you are. They don't want to see who you're pretending to be. Because that's the only way they can help you. So everyone's starting to get a really clear picture and seeing the difference between where they were when they were just making a manifestation list to the level of clarity, the level of integrity and values, the level of knowing who you are that you require to get that instant manifestation on a regular basis. Does that make sense? Yeah? Now here's a really important one. What will you give to the universe if you get this manifestation? What's your contribution to the planet if this comes into your life? Are you going to commit to caring for yourself every day? Are you going to commit to tithing? Are you going to commit to picking up litter when you walk up the road? Are you going to give up plastic? Are you going to give up meat or dairy? What are you going to give back to the universe? Because we live in a culture that's very selfish and we want to get without receiving, and that's not the law of cause and effect, and it's not the law of the universe. The universe is a flow of giving and receiving. Okay? So if you want a promotion at work, it looks like this. Okay, here are the skills I have to offer. I'm honest, I'm confident, I'm courageous, I'm kind, and I'm loyal. Right? If I get this job opportunity, I promise to use those skills to make my workplace a better environment for everyone involved. I promise to show up with good energy to work every day, even when it's hard. I promise to be kind to other people when they're failing while still holding them accountable. I promise to really love the people that I work with. So you're looking at what you're giving in return. Does that make sense? The same thing goes for soulmates. If you want to manifest your soulmate, you're like, okay, well, what are my core qualities and how will that contribute to this man's life? I promise to pick up the phone most of the time when he calls. I promise to stay with him when I'm scared and when he's scared. I promise to do whatever it takes to overcome our challenges. When you're first in love with someone, you'll do whatever it takes to be with them. Have you noticed? Right? Same thing for health. What are you going to give? Are you going to do whatever it takes to be healthy? Are you going to give 120% or 70%? And lots of the things that we end up with, guys, and that we land with, they're not our fault. I've worked with little kids that are dying of cancer. I've worked with people in their 17, 18 years old that are struggling with depression and anxiety. And most of that stuff they didn't do to themselves. Does that make sense? It doesn't matter where you got it, it's yours now. And only 100% of the responsibility is going to burn away. Back to the nothingness from whence it came. It doesn't matter where you learn to give up on yourself. You can choose again right now. It doesn't matter where you learn to get angry every time you're out of your comfort zone. You can choose again right now. It's a holy instant. If you chose fear, you can choose again. Every moment is an opportunity for divine intervention. If you chose fear 5 minutes ago, choose again now. The number of times my partner and I have fights over silly things. We had a fight, as I told you guys last week, about the kitchen sink dripping. And we had like 2 seconds worth of a fight. I locked myself in the bathroom and I could hear the thoughts going in my head, you chose fear, choose again. Does that resonate? And then you come out and you apologize. And you remember who you are. You remember that you're honest and loving and kind and that the tap is not worth fighting about. Does that make sense? And you also get crystal clear on what is worth fighting about. Your kids' education, the health of your relationship, the opportunities that you're going to have in your life. These are things that are worth standing for. They're worth fighting for. Does that make sense? And one of the strongest ways that we claim our power is owning what the truth is. I had fights with not my current husband, but the one before, where my partner would say, when he got really angry, he would say, I don't care what you think, I don't care what you feel. And in those moments, I would say back to him, well, then I don't care either. If you don't care, I don't care. Right? And with my current husband, even if he says, I don't care, I say to him, I do. Does that make sense? And inevitably, whether it's a teenager or your partner, they'll go, why? Right? And you say, because I love you. Your happiness matters to me. Us being happy matters to me. And that means we can't give up every time things get tough. That means that we literally have to choose to work this out. And that's why we're different. That's how we're wired differently from other people. That's why we succeed where other people fail. Because we choose to love. Does that make sense? It's more than what we pay lip service to. It's who we are, because even in the moments where it's hard and the rubber meets the road, it's a choice. Does that make sense? And I consciously remind myself, okay, you know, what am I choosing right now? Am I choosing to be loving, or am I choosing to be a bitch? Am I choosing to be fun, or am I choosing to be depressed? What am I choosing right now? There are many things in my life I had no control over. I had no control over getting sick when I was 10. I had no control over the parents that I had. My soul did, but I didn't. So when you're working from that level, all I had control over was what I decided to do with what I was given. Does that make sense? I had a choice over how I played the cards, but I didn't have a choice of what cards. And it's the same thing as the curriculum. You don't have a choice of the curriculum, but you do have a choice of how you learn. And that matters to you a lot, because it defines whether you actually enjoy life and have a good time, or whether you're exhausted. Yeah? So everybody clear what their values are? Yeah? Take a minute to write down, what do you want your 3 core values to be? If you were in a court of law and someone asked you, how did you make this decision? What values would you use? What values do you use to hold yourself accountable? Not because someone says, but because you chose them. Right? If you want to become an authority, you have to learn to hold yourself accountable. Otherwise, you end up doing some crazy things. Right? There's a really large number of spiritual leaders who have an incredibly high level of corruption because they don't have values. Does that make sense? You need your values so that you know who you are and you know how to hold yourself accountable to those things.
Why are they still spiritual leaders? Why are they still spiritual leaders if they do have a high level of corruption?
Because your spiritual gifts aren't an antidote to loneliness or fear. And knowledge is the weakest form of learning. Practice is the highest form of mastery. When you can do it, and you can actually do it, then you've achieved mastery. It doesn't matter if you've read 50 books on driving a car. Does it make you able to drive a car? Right? Reading a book about how to swim, anyone want to jump off the Titanic with that one? Right? Love is not an idea. Love is not a philosophy. Love is a practice. It's an action. Does that go deep? Because that's the truth. What use is someone saying to you, I love you, if when the going gets tough, they don't know how? And that's what's happening to our planet right now. You know, it's like we want to be good people, but we don't want to act like we are. My husband both him and I have been homeless at earlier points in our lives. And every single time we walk past a homeless person, he gives them money. Every single time he stops. And when I was first with him, I was scared of homeless people. I was scared that they might attack me. I was scared they were mentally ill. And he would literally walk a few steps forward ahead of me, and he would give me the money and make me go and give it to the homeless person. And the look in their eyes, when you didn't just drop it like they didn't even exist, when you actually got to eye level, when you actually hugged them. I've been doing it for 4 years. I've never been hurt by anyone. Now when I walk on my own, I can do it because he taught me how to do it. Does that make sense? Yeah? But what we're talking about with the practice, most of us walk past without even giving a smile because of the shame in us is so great. We're ashamed of our own poverty. So when someone shows it to us, we panic. And their shame comes over the street, crawls up our leg, and becomes our shame. Does that make sense? Same thing with rage. One of the reasons I'm so good as a therapist is because I can work with angry people. What's one of the biggest causes of cancer? Anger, resentment, right? What's one of the biggest causes of depression? Anger turned inwards. So if you start working with somebody who's angry and you haven't dealt with your anger issues, when they get angry, do you think you might feel ashamed and triggered? You haven't learned it yet. So unless you can completely put your issues on a coat hanger, then you're not going to be able to let Creator do the healing, because you'll block it. Does that make sense? So action is more powerful than words. It doesn't happen the first time. You didn't learn to walk with one step. And you're not going to learn to love without practice. You're not going to learn to make your dreams a priority without practice. You're not going to learn to keep going even when it's hard without practice. Does that make sense? And because we're in so much doubt when things get hard, we normally attract the dream stealers. Right when we're on our knees, right when we're thinking, maybe I shouldn't be a healer or a teacher, maybe I can't have my own business, that's when we manifest somebody who agrees with us. Right? So you really have to surround yourself with people who will challenge you. And you have to be okay with being challenged. I remember one time I had a fight with my husband when we first met. And we were still both learning a lot. I was learning how to deal with codependency and he was learning how to overcome anger. And I remember him saying to me, I can't let go of the anger. I'm never going to calm down. This is who I am. And I remember my anger arising and looking at him and saying, you think this is who you are? You know, you're amazing. You're a divine masculine being. I was like, this is not even a fleck in front of the sun. I was like, this is not who you are. I'm not trying to change you. I'm trying to find you. Does that make sense? Change is a rule of life. We don't want others to change and ourselves to change because we want to change them. It's because we're lonely and we want to find them. And we hide ourselves. Who in this room hides who they really are? And some of you are lying. Because intimacy is vulnerable. Right? So when we're talking about manifestation, where do you block your partner from getting in? How do you judge the person on the first date? What do you say to your partner to push them away? Does that make sense? How do you make them feel like they're not enough? And how do you do it to yourself? Because that will tell you exactly how you do it to them. All right? Our kids and our partners watch what we do, not what we say. If I say to my child, you can do anything and be anything and have everything, but then I treat myself like I'm stupid and I can't achieve anything and I don't know what I'm doing, what am I teaching? I'm teaching what I demonstrate. I'm manifesting who I'm being and the actions that I'm taking, and that's what they're watching. If I tell my kids to eat healthy and stuff my face with a donut, what am I teaching? Does that make sense? Yeah? So you have to look at, in the Course in Miracles, it talks about to teach being to demonstrate. What do you demonstrate to yourself? I really love an author called Brené Brown, and she talks about how it was one of the hardest things when she was doing her research for her to really realize that she could not love her children more than she loved herself. Her whole life, she told herself, I can love them more than I love myself. And then when the research came in, she couldn't. Does that make sense? We want to believe we can love others more than we love ourselves, but our love is very limited. And that you might see it when your partner gets into debt and you have to get out of it. You might see it when your partner isn't good at being a parent and you have to help them become a better parent. You might see it when you're not good at making money and your partner has to bail you out consistently. Does that make sense? But where the rubber meets the road is our actions. And where you learn to actually be loving, even if it doesn't feel right. I remember my mum saying to me, the first time me and my partner got into financial hot water, and it was because of something he did. And she said to me, you don't want to be with a man like that. You don't want to be with somebody that isn't sorted out financially. You don't want to be with someone that's a drain on you. Does that make sense? Because I'd studied, because I'd grown, because I learned. What I said to her was every time I screwed up financially, he was there for me. Does that make sense? And he's not like that. It's a mistake he made. It's not who he is. But if I hadn't healed that in myself, would I have been able to have that conversation? Would I probably have gone into righteous self-pity? Why did I choose the wrong person again? And when my husband was going through a really hard patch in his life, would I have been one of the most selfish people on the planet, making it all about me? Does that make sense? Because of the practice, because I knew what kind of a wife I wanted to be, because I knew what kind of a partner I wanted to be, I was able to say, we're going to get through this. Right? It's just money. We've made more than this before. You were brilliant manifestors. We've got this. Does that make sense? You know, it makes me able to ask him when he needs it. And he rarely needs it. Do you need money? Without resentment, without anger. And it means that when I'm in the same situation, he takes care of me. But can you see how easy it is to listen to people telling you that people are sucking your energy, taking your time, and then you're not asking yourself, what kind of a woman do I want to be? How would I feel if I failed financially and my husband turned around to me and said, you're just not the kind of woman I want to be with. You don't make enough money. I find your financial failures embarrassing. Right? It's really important to be able to turn your own values into accountability, because otherwise you get lost and people can and will lead you astray with the best of intentions. The best of intentions, because they'll just share with you what they know. And what they know normally doesn't make them very happy. Does that make sense? Part of a marriage, part of a business is dealing with people making financial mistakes. We had one of our employees last month make a mistake that cost us a lot of money. Right? A lot of companies would have fired him. We raised his salary. Because we want people who will literally succeed, and to succeed, they have to be able to make mistakes. Does that make sense? But most people don't work that way. And that's why you have to wire yourself differently. You have to see every challenge as an opportunity for you to be better, for you to be more of who you are. When you go to bed at night and you look at yourself in the mirror, you can say to yourself, you know something? That was a really hard day, but I did good. Does that make sense? And you're not asking yourself, why didn't I manifest something else? You're literally sitting there going, this is exactly what it's about. It's about overcoming and growing and becoming a better human being. I got what I needed to get today. The universe gave me what I needed. Does that make sense? I'll give you a really hard example in my life of manifestation. My husband's ex doesn't speak to me. We've been together almost 8 years. Okay? She doesn't like me to go and see the kids, which means if they're in trouble or they're ill, then I can't go and help them. Which for me is incredibly hard. Right? It literally breaks my heart. And the first place that my ego wants to go when that happens is I want to get mad at my husband. Right? Because of all the practice and the time, when one of my stepchildren got sick last weekend, I was able to say to him, go, they need you, be with them, I'll be fine, and mean it. Does that make sense? And when I got to speak to my stepson, I cried my eyes out on the phone. But I wasn't sitting there creating a drama when my husband needed me to be his rock. Does that make sense? And I had every reason to make a drama. He's my stepson too. Does that make sense? You're going to have every reason to give up on love. It's going to be a choice that you make not to. You're going to see things that don't make any sense. I scare her, don't I? But you guys have it in you. You guys are amazing. You're ascended masters. You came here for a purpose. You came here with meaning. You came here with focus. What you do with your life in 2019 matters. 2018 has been a year for clearing out. Anyone noticed? Everything that could have happened, happened. Right? It's been a really tough year for most people. You guys got through it anyway. You guys are standing here anyway. That means 2019, we're going to fly. Because the weights have come off, the chains have been undone. We saw our darkness and we did not go unconscious. We witnessed it until it left. And that's what we're going to do over and over and over again. Because that's what we promised to do. Because that's who we really are. Because that's what we're strong enough to do. Because that's what God gave us. That's what every single time we pray and we ask for an answer, we get from the universe. And we're learning to give it back. We're learning to give it out. We're learning to pay it forward. Does that make sense? What you do with next year matters. And if you wait until that clock strikes midnight to decide, you're going to trust yourself less. Decide before the New Year's party. Decide before the New Year's manifestation list. Decide what you want to do. Decide who you want to be. Decide the time you're going to allocate to it, the money you're going to allocate to it. I know that's a hard one, but it's a necessary one. Right? And then literally do whatever it takes. Whatever it takes, because I assure you that the terrorists are doing whatever it takes. Does that make sense? Hatred has a perverse sense of courage. And so does love. Who's noticed that you go a bit crazy when you're in love? Yeah? When I was working with a little girl who was terminally ill, I was running 2 businesses full time and I found a way to make it to that hospital 5 days a week. That was crazy. I was literally burned out. I went anyway. Does that make sense? She didn't get to have a day off from being sick. And I didn't get to have a day off from being there with her. You guys have big missions. Big missions, like raise the consciousness of women on the planet, like end war, end famine, create peace, create a government that's reliable and trustworthy, create education systems for our children. You guys have big purposes, like remodel the healthcare system. Right? You're going to need your whole life to do this. And you're going to need to dream big. And there's going to be a lot of people underestimating us, which is perfect. Because that gives us a lot of space to work without drama. Does that make sense? But literally commit to what you want to do next year. Start building it. If you want to have a business, set it up. Aim for making at least 200,000 your first year. Aim for making your first million in 5 years. If your aim is to build hospitals like me, to help cure people, aim high, because it will get you out of bed in the morning. It will get you out of bed when you were sick. It will get you out of bed when you were tired. Does that make sense? And there's plenty of reason to be tired. It will light you up, it will switch you on, and it will make other people smile, and it will remind them of how amazing they really are. Every single one of you in this room is a healer or an ascended master. That is what I manifest. I don't manifest beginners. I manifest advanced old souls. We've lived this life before. And this time we decided we're going to do it right. We're going to do it deep. We're going to do it good. We're going to do it true. Because we deserve to know what this world would look like if we gave it 120%. We deserve for our next incarnations on this planet to be easier than this one. Right? We deserve for kids to grow up without 1 in 3 of us dealing with such sexual and physical abuse that we don't know who we are. Right? We deserve that, and we didn't get that from our ancestors, so we're going to create it. We owe it to ourselves. We owe it to this beautiful planet. And we can do it. We can really, really do it. It's so achievable. It's ridiculous how achievable it is. If you don't believe me, Google what it takes to end world poverty, because it's less than 3 billion. It's ridiculous. Right? The reason we're needed is because the issue is inside the human heart. The issue is our own corruption and greed. Right? It has to come from within, and we are within. We are the cells in the body that is humanity. We are the consciousness changing. We are the tipping. We are the turning of the tide. Your manifestations this year matter. Think big. Stick important things on those vision boards. Stick important things on those vision boards. Have what you really want. If you could really see the world changing and you could be part of that change, what would you do? And how is that going to change your behavior? How are you going to give time to those projects? Does that resonate with everyone? Yeah? You guys want downloads or you want a healing session? Which one first? Okay, hands up for downloads first. Hands up for healing first. Okay, the downloads have it. Okay, so just close your eyes for me. And I want you to imagine that you're in a bubble of white light. And no fear can enter the white light, and nothing inside the white light can be harmed or hurt. I want you to feel the love of Mother Earth coming up through your feet, filling your whole body with the soft, radiant energy and love of Mother Earth. Feel her supporting you, raising you, uplifting you. And then feel yourself popping out of a bubble of white light above your head. And shoot up out of this building, out into the sky, out past the rain clouds, and see the moon dancing on top of the storm. Out to the edge of the atmosphere, out into the starry, starry night. Faster and faster now. Up past the white lights and the dark lights. Up past the sticky green substance that's the laws of the universe. Up and up and up through the pink light of compassion, through the golden light of the Ascended Masters. And then you go through this door into this white, opalescent white light of Creator of all that is. And I want you to feel the love of Creator of all that is, going into every molecule, every cell, every spiritual body, every light body, every subtle energy that you have. And feel everything that you think that you are dissolving into this white light. You're not your emotions. You're not your thoughts. You're not your feelings. You're not your body. You're not your bank balance. You are the light of Creator. You are the light of the world. You are the light of the universe. You are a force more beautiful, more powerful, more loving than you could ever imagine. Feel this force of love rising up inside you. See it radiating out from you in all directions and returning to you multiplied. The more you use and give, the more you have to give. Feel it dissolving all of your doubts, all of the insecurity, all of the not knowing, and feel yourself resting in the love of Creator, in the love of the multiverse, of the seventh plane of existence. Just allow your brain, allow Creator to put your brain to that theta brainwave state. Feel your psychic and intuitive centers opening and becoming more and more receptive, more and more open to the light of Creator which resides within you now. Good. So I'm going to read out the downloads, and Creator's doing the healing on you, not me. Okay? If you would like them, you have to say yes out loud. Would you like to know what it feels like to know that you're a powerful manifester?
Yes.
Would you like to know what it feels like that what you create, that what you manifest matters?
Yes.
Would you like to know that you are a gift to this planet and to the world?
Yes.
Would you like to know what it feels like to be a gift to this planet and the world?
Yes.
How to be a gift, when to be a gift, where to be a gift?
Yes.
Would you like to know what it would feel like to live your daily life feeling powerful?
Yes.
Would you like to know that that's an ultimate truth of the universe?
Yes.
Would you like to know that it's your weakness that's the lie?
Yes.
Would you like to know what it feels like to live your life knowing you're powerful, being powerful? Would you like to know what it feels like to work through Creator to awaken others?
Yes.
Would you like to know how to do this with grace and ease?
Yes.
Would you like Creator's definition of organization skills?
Yes.
Would you like to know the difference between being organized and being trapped?
Yes.
Between being organized and being controlled?
Yes.
Can we release the damage done to you by the control and fear of your ancestors and your family?
Yes.
Can we unlock your family's beliefs about what you're capable of from your body, from your spine, from all 4 levels?
Yes.
Can we ask Creator to do an instant healing on your heart and on your soul?
Yes.
Can we give you Creator's definition of blossoming and rising and awakening?
Yes.
Would you like to know what it feels like to constantly grow through the love of Creator?
Yes.
Would you like to know what it feels like to grow and manifest without drama?
Yes.
Would you like to know what it feels like to grow and help others manifest without pain or judgment?
Yes.
5 deep breaths from you guys. Can I clear all your anger, disappointment with yourselves where you've let yourself down previous years?
Yes.
Can I release the apathy, the fear that because you haven't succeeded before, you're not going to succeed now?
Yes.
Can Creator show you that this time is different?
Yes.
That this time you will succeed?
Yes.
That this time you will get where you're wanting to go?
Yes.
That it's possible for you?
Yes.
That you know how to and when to take divine action?
Yes.
That you know how to listen to Creator no matter what?
Yes.
That you know that you deserve to see what your life would look like if you allowed yourself to be fully in your power?
Yes.
And that you know what it would feel like to see your life fully in your power?
Yes.
Deep breaths from you guys. Can we release the anger at you in the places where you have abused your power, others have abused their power?
Yes.
And can Creator show you what it feels like to forgive yourself?
Yes.
And to forgive others?
Yes.
And to know that mastery of power requires great skill?
Yes.
And what it would feel like to allow yourself to have those virtues?
Yes.
What it would feel like to see others without judging them?
Yes.
What it would feel like to see others without fearing them?
Yes.
What it would feel like to be excited and inspired by the power of others?
Yes.
What it feels like to live without jealousy over others being powerful?
Yes.
Can I release the belief that you're fundamentally weak and powerless?
Yes.
And can I replace it with a belief that you are strong and very powerful?
Yes.
Can we download you with what safety is and what it feels like?
Yes.
Can Creator show you the difference between your energy and my energy?
Yes.
Can we show you what it feels like and that it's possible for you to learn from me without giving me your power or your energy?
Yes.
Would you like to know what it feels like to work with me in a way that's the best for you?
Yes.
Can I release the doubt you have in humanity? The belief that humanity is just too screwed up, too broken, too crazy?
Yes.
And can we ask Creator to do a repair on humanity's soul or the part of humanity's soul that you carry?
Yes.
Would you like to know what it feels like to live your life loving your humanity?
Yes.
Being grateful for humanity?
Yes.
Embracing your humanity?
Yes.
Embracing and nurturing the humanity of others?
Yes.
Would you like to know that you are safe, you are safe, you are safe?
Yes.
That you are needed, you are needed, you are needed.
Yes.
You are wanted, you are wanted, you are wanted.
Yes.
And that you are joy, you are joy, you are joy.
Yes.
You are light, you are light, you are light.
Yes.
And then I want you to see yourselves going to the edge of the seventh plane of existence and looking down on your life. And just seeing Creator going into your life and stirring the energy so that everything that you've manifested comes into existence. Okay, and can we just cut the cords of any people draining you or your life of energy? Would that be okay?
Yes.
Can Creator show you that you are ready for the level of responsibility that your dream requires?
Yes.
Can we make your definition of responsibility the same as Creator's?
Yes.
Can we show you how to feel responsible with pride instead of fear?
Yes.
To know when to be responsible, how to be responsible, and when things are not your responsibility?
Yes.
And then when you're ready, just releasing your life into the light of Creator. And just saying thank you to Creator, to God, to the Ascended Masters. And then just coming down, down, down. Down from the white light. Down through the pink light and the golden light. Down through sticky green substance, that's the laws of the universe. Down, down, down. Down, down, down. Down into our multiverse. Back into our galaxy and our solar system. Through the atmosphere. Back into our starry, stormy sky. Back down through the rain cloud. Into our building and deep into your body that's filled with the unconditional love and support of Mother Earth. Now you're ready, wriggling your fingers and your toes and opening your eyes. Feeling a bit better? Are you happy?
Yes.